Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie, Mandy.
Hi, and I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
And today we want to talk to you guys about some of our favorite sports romances. So this is going to be just a video about all those fun little sports romances that we like. It's just kind of the ones we've read over the last couple of years. There's no rhyme or reason to the list that we have. We're just going to go over some of our absolute favorites. So before we start, just make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And as always, we love those likes and comments.
Yes, tell us what your favorite sports romance is.
Yeah, especially if it's one that we're not mentioning, because I would love to read new ones. So Mandy, do you want to start? We have 5 each. So you guys get a total of 10 romance recommendations this time around.
Okay, my first one, I'm sure you probably have this on your list too, but my first one is Puck Me Secretly by Odette Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love this book. Oh my gosh, what was her name?
Her name was Rory.
Rory. Okay, thank you. I have written down Max. So she ends up sitting there on a plane together, going across the country. They're strangers, and the plane hits like really bad turbulence to the point where they make an emergency landing. But as the plane is hitting this turbulence and the stewardess are giving the announcements, she just starts verbal like diarrhea basically all over about how she's never had an orgasm. She wants to like be really in love. It is hilarious the things that come out of her mouth.
And Max just takes it. He just takes it. He
listens to everything. He's super sweet with her because he's trying to calm her down because she is panicking. She puts the life vest on and they make an emergency landing. I think it's like in South Dakota. So there's no like, they're not
no water
in the ocean or anything. They're in a cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
And so he promises her as the plane is like going to make this emergency landing that if they survive, he will give her her first orgasm. And they end up going through all the process of like once the plane lands, and they end up in a hotel, and he follows through on that. And when she wakes up the next morning, he's just gone. And she's kind of bummed about that, but she's going to start her job. I think she works for her dad, doesn't she? She's not like super excited about it.
Her dad is I think he's the owner of the team, but she's going, or maybe he is she's going to, she's the general manager in training. That is her new job for the Vancouver, whatever they are.
The Wolves,
Vancouver Wolves. Yeah.
Yeah. So she shows up there to do her job, and surprise, surprise, Max is one of the hockey players, but Max has been traded to this team because he has kind of been a playboy up to no good. Mm-hmm. It sounds like from when you read the book, it kind of makes it sound like a lot of stuff was kind of done in the tabloids. Like they kind of spun things with a different take, and he just kind of really got this bad boy rep. And he got in a fight, and you learn more about a lot of why he did what he did as the book progresses. And so she's kind of like stuck in this weird spot. Like this guy was amazing to her, but she can't really do anything about it. And he kind of feels the same way. So that's where the Puck Me Secretly comes from. But it's a really fun book. Like the beginning though, when the plane is going down and she's just like, all this stuff. It's funny. I really enjoyed it.
It's relatable because that's how I would be on a plane. Like,
yeah, confessing everything
like,
as
just spill my guts
going down next to this hot stranger. So anyways, it was hilarious. And when I was going back, I realized that there's more in this series that I haven't read. And so I actually made a note, like, I want to go back and read more of the series because I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah, I have. I read there's one, the last one or the fourth one I haven't read yet, but I read the 2 after that. And then there's kind of a spinoff because at one point there's like a cousin that comes into the picture who's mafia related. And she has those books as well. And so I've read several of hers right after I read this one. We were camping, so I had downloaded a whole bunch of them and I was in it. And I remember sitting down listening to this book because it was on audio. It was only the first one at the time was on audio. I'm not sure if other ones are now, but in one sitting, I was kind of like, nobody bugged me. it was just one of those that sucks you right in. So that was really, I really enjoyed that one too. Yeah. Okay. So for my first one, I have Real by Katie Evans. So this is I think he's an MMA fighter. So this is an MMA, fighting, whatever you want to call it, romance. But so this is about Remy or Remington. And did I write her name? Oh, Brooke is her name. So Brooke she was a runner. Like she was, I can't remember if she made it to the Olympics. Yes, she did. Because she was an Olympic runner. And I can't remember which, whatever race she ran, but she was an Olympic runner. She tore a bunch of stuff like on screen at the end of her race. It was a big deal. And so she can no longer run the way she did before. So now she has become like a sports therapist type person. And so she's at this boxing match or MMA match with a friend one night, and Remy, it's an underground fighting ring. And Remy is kind of like the bad boy of the underground fighting ring. And he sees her and it's like love at first sight for him. He jumps out of the ring once he wins the game or wins the match. Oh, wow. And chases after her to get her number because she's like, I'm out. And you know, he's got a rep. He's got, you know, this reputation. He's got girls flinging stuff at him, yelling his name, wanting to have his baby, that kind of thing. And she's like, dude, I am out. But she's just finished school. She doesn't have a job yet. And so a few days later, he shows up and he's like, I want to offer you a job as my massage trainee. I don't know, I can't remember what the exact title was, but I know she had to like rub those muscles out.
This sounds like this book is taking a weird turn.
No, it's a legit job. It is not that kind of job. You know, she was in charge of his nutrition and in charge of, you know, making sure after a fight that he's taken care of, that his muscles are rubbed down so they don't, you know, spasm and all that other good stuff. Stop it. You are so wrong. Look at you. As the book progresses, we find out that they both have issues that need to be worked out, especially Remy, and those issues really impact the relationship. But this is a duet. There's 2 books in this series, and I haven't read the ones after it because the 3rd book in the series is everything from Remy's point of view, and at that point I was like, but I don't need to read that. So I do, now there's been a couple of years, I would like to go back and read it from his point of view. And then there's other books after that from other people that were in the stories from the side characters. But I really enjoyed it. I liked the MMA fighting of aspect of it. Really enjoyed their love story.
It sounds like something I need to read.
You do. Yeah, you do.
Okay. My next book is called Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke.
I knew you'd put this one on there. I knew it.
Did you read this one?
No, but it's on my top list of things to read next.
It is so good. So good. So it's a little taboo because he is her coach. Olivia starts off at another college and she gets into a fight. And just kind of, she's a track star. I don't know if I even started with that part. She's a track star, like really, really good runner. And she gets kicked out of the college program that she's in because she gets into this fight. And she just kind of becomes known as a troubled girl. But she's such a great runner that this other college picks her up. And the coach has no say in it, and he's not happy. Will is not happy that she's going to be on his team. He's not significantly older than her. I think it's maybe like 6 or 8 years, so he's still a young coach. He's a little bitter because he hasn't gotten to kind of live the life he wants to. He feels really responsible for his mom and the farm, so his dad passed away. So he's a little bitter about that. But he is like really angry, like that she's going to be on his team. And she is supposed to be like giving it her all. And some things are happening in her life that cause her to like show up extremely tired to practice and things like that. And at her old college, she let people just believe it was because she was out partying and drinking. And that's not the case at all. and you learn it's I can't really talk a lot about the book because it'll spoil things, but you learn what's really actually going on. And when he figures out what's going on, he tries to help her, and then, you know, things kind of start from there. It's such a good book though. I really, really loved it. And it made me really sad for her that she had all these struggles. And so you can see that when he starts to kind of piece together some of the things that are going on, why he feels like, okay, I need to step in and try and help this poor girl. And it's sad to me that she let everybody like think that she was just this partier and up to no good, when that's not the case at all. So highly good book, a little taboo. But it's really about two characters that are just really struggling in their own worlds, and just how they kind of come together and help each other. So it's a very good story. I loved it.
Yeah, I definitely have it on my list, because I remember when you were reading it and just, you were like, you have to read this book. I'm like, okay. I'll put it on the ever-growing TBR.
I know, my TBR is out of control.
I know. So the next book that I have on my list is Flawless by Elsie Silver. Yes, Elsie. I want to say it's Elise every time, but it's Elsie Silver. So this is a cowboy romance. The cowboy is a bull rider.
So
that's where your sports connection, which is so much fun, because it's not something you typically read about. And when I found out about this book, I was like, bull rider, sign me up. And then when I was reading this book, I had to take little breaks to go and watch videos of like Lane Frost before he passed away, his writing, and like 8 seconds clips from the movie 8 Seconds with Luke Perry, because I was like, yeah, that's bull right. Like that's it.
Oh, I totally forgot about that Luke Perry movie.
Yeah.
I really used to like
it. Was a good movie. I used to like that a lot. So, but that was really interesting to me. So, with Flawless, the story goes, so it is about, Rhett is the guy, is your main male character. And Summer is his agent's daughter. So Rhett gets into trouble at the very beginning of the book with his sponsors, because somebody catches him in a clip saying that he doesn't like milk. And obviously you got a country boy who's being sponsored by these people, and that is a big deal. Anyhow, so she is just starting to work for her dad. And so he's Rhett's agent, and he basically assigns her as Rhett's babysitter. So she has to go and babysit him to make sure that he doesn't lose any more sponsors. At the same time, Rhett is getting old as far as like within the bull riding community, and his body is taking a hit, and he's hurting everywhere, and he's, been in it longer than he should. And he knows that if there's ever a time when he gets on a bull and he's scared, that is going to be the last time. But at this point, that's not happening. He has this younger kid that he's mentoring, whose dad was like, this kid's dad has passed away, but it was Rhett's like mentor when he was first learning how to ride bulls. And so Summer has to go out and live on their farm with his dad and his brothers who live out on this property. They're older as well. One has a little boy. But she goes out there, she gets along really well with his family. There's a lot of funny, there's some hilarious stuff that happens. She follows him as he's out on the circuit, and things happen, obviously, and things progress for them. But I really enjoyed this one. This was, it was a 5-star read for me. I'm dying to read the next one, because it is about the brother who is a single father and has a little boy at home. So, I haven't started that yet, but I just read this book a few days ago. So I am like ready to read the next one.
Okay, my next book is one that I know you're not going to care for, because it's high schoolers.
Oh yeah.
It's called Kiss Now, Lie Later by C.W. Farnsworth. Okay. And this has Maeve and Weston. And I know you're not going to like this one because it's high school, but I loved it. It's actually probably a top ranked read from me from last year as well.
And you're saying that because just so everybody knows, I don't have a hate for high school. I just have a hard time relating to romances set in high school. We've been out of high school for a minute. I even have a hard time with college sometimes. It depends on if it's done correctly, but yeah, that's why.
It has, for me, it's all about the writing.
Yes, because there are a few.
Really well. I think I've read a few of her books. Are actually C.W. Farnsworth. I'm assuming that's a female author. I actually don't know, but I think that I've read a couple of their books and the writing is phenomenal. Anyway, so Maeve has a twin brother and they live in a community that has another community next, like, you know, communities kind of side by side, and they're football rivals. And this area like breathes and dies football. Like that's all that matters. And so her twin brother is the quarterback of the high school that they go to. And they have consistently keep getting beat by the rival team. And she ends up running into the quarterback for the other team at a party. And they kind of have this like little bit of an exchange. And then this is their freshman year. And then fast forward to like senior year and they run into each other again. And there's just some chemistry and they just really hit it off. And so they end up spending time together and their relationship just kind of develops in secret because he is like the quarterback for the rival team and her family like lives and breathes football. And so they just kind of keep this secret and you can kind of see where this is going to go. But it was just such a great book. They like just spend time together and there's just such great character and relationship development in this story. And it's a very sweet story. There is, you know, some sexual things in it, but it's not raunchy. It's done tastefully, but it also doesn't feel like you're reading a book for kids either, if that makes sense. It was really well written and I really, really enjoyed it. There was angst in it, which I'm always a huge fan of that. So I highly recommend this one if you like sports romance. There was quite a bit of football in it. I'm reading a book right now that the guy is supposed to be a quarterback for the football team, and like none of the stuff that normally comes with that is even in the book. And I'm like, it just doesn't fit right for me. I'm really enjoying the book, but I just don't get him as this college star.
Right.
So anyways, it's a super great read. Highly recommend it. One of my favorites from the year.
Okay. Yeah. The book I'm reading right now is a football romance, but the guy is injured and not playing. And so that kind of like, he still has to go to the games, but it's explainable, right? Why you don't have all the football playing if he can't do it. So I don't know how long, I'm just starting it, so I don't know how long that'll last. But okay, so the next book that I have is one that's been around for a while and a lot of people have heard of it, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Mandy, you are going to love this one. I was thinking I needed to add this to your you better read list, or the list we have for each other. But then I realized that we're recording this on my phone and I couldn't get to my Goodreads to do it. So I was like, I'll have to do it afterwards. So that is Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. And I know you've read some Kennedy Ryan. We both love Kennedy Ryan. She is an amazing author. But this one is a NBA romance. This one is does come with a lot of triggers for domestic abuse, not by the main male character. But you do need to double check your trigger warnings for this one, especially if that is a trigger for you. But this is about August and Iris, and they meet. There's instant connection and attraction, but it doesn't work out the first time that they meet. Iris ends up getting married and having a little boy. I think it was a little boy. And
that's
the husband,
more than it didn't work out.
Huh? That's more than didn't work out. Yes. But August is a NBA player and her husband is an NBA player, but her husband is very abusive towards her. And as she and August start to reconnect, they run into each other again and they start to reconnect, and he starts to see some of the signs. She does a very good job of hiding it. But he starts to see the cracks And the story and stuff, I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to give away everything, but it is heartbreaking. It is one of those books, it takes, and Mandy will tell you this, it takes a lot to get me emotional in a book. I mean, a lot. Like Mandy will call me or she'll send me a Marco Polo and she'll just be bawling her eyes out reading a book that I've just finished, and I finished it completely stone-faced. And so I always have to, I'm like, okay.
What does that say about you?
I guess that I'm heartless. I don't know. But it takes a lot to get me upset. And this book did it. There are some scenes in there where I was just like, oh my gosh. So it is very emotional. The characters go through a lot. There's a lot of heartbreak in this book. There is obviously a happily ever after, because if there isn't what Mandy likes to call a HIA, then it isn't a romance. But there is an HEA at the end of this one. It's just a long journey to get there, but it is worth every second of heartbreak to get there. So definitely check this one out if you haven't already.
Okay, let's stop recording so I can go read it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That sounds great.
I know.
Okay, my next read is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I absolutely love this series. I started it at the very beginning of last year. I read all the books for it. Highly recommend the whole series, but The Deal is probably my favorite out of it. It is a hockey romance. It starts with Hannah and Garrett. Hannah had been sexually assaulted, so make sure you check your triggers. It's in the past, and so she's dealing with kind of like moving forward, being in a normal relationship. Like that is a huge part of her journey in this book. But she kind of has a crush on a guy, and Garrett is a hockey star, and he's about to lose his place on the team because his GPA is plummeting. And so Hannah and him team up. Hannah's going to coach him on and like help him, like be his tutor basically, and help him get his grades up. And he agrees to help Hannah get the attention of this guy that she's kind of crushing on. And things kind of just progress from there. And then she ends up kind of confessing to him about what had happened to her. And she's scared to pursue something with this other guy and kind of like panic or something. So he agrees to like help her like get through that. And so he's actually super sweet during this whole process of them doing this. And he actually ends up totally falling for her, and he falls first, which is always kind of a fun thing in books. Because a lot of times when you do that tutor college sports star book, it's the other way around. But he falls for her, and it's just kind of their journey. And he's a huge player at the beginning, and to see him just totally do this 180 and just want to love Hannah and take care of her is it's really quite fascinating. And there's some funny things that happen in the book as well. There's like definitely some humor, and the whole series is just really good, but this was one of my favorites. Yeah, I loved the character development.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that a lot of the times when you go to Amazon to look and see what free books are available, because there's always free books available through Amazon, and we're not talking like Kindle Unlimited. They're discounted to $0 and 0 cents. This book is often one of the free ones in that list. So she often has this, because I think it's a whole, like if she can get you hooked on the first one, then you're going to want to read the rest. So 9 times out of 10, it is free on Amazon to download that very first book. And there's a few authors that do that. And maybe at some point we can make a video about that too. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like a video on how to find those and what authors we know that, because I know of a handful that tend to have their first books and series on there for free. So let us know about that. But it is worth mentioning that one is one of them. So you can probably find it for free, even if you don't have Kindle Unlimited. So,
and the rest of the series, you see Hannah and Garrett in the rest of the series as well, and the characters that you get to see in The Deal. So while I think she says they're all standalones, I would highly recommend reading them in order, because you get to see the couples as they couple up throughout the series.
Okay, so my next book is a book that's been around for a while. It's very popular, or at least it was very popular, but I have like this, I have a couple toxic book traits, but one of my toxic book traits is that I don't like to read a book when everybody is talking about it. I would rather like read it before that or read it like later. So if everybody's talking about a book, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait, because I feel like sometimes when it gets really hyped up like that, then you go into it going, oh, this book's going to be great. And then I'm let down. So the ones that I have done that, I've been let down. Just because I love something doesn't mean that you're going to love something and vice versa. So that being said, I waited a while to read this. And then I like kick myself when I read it and it's so good. I'm like, why did I read this sooner? But the book that my next book is From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. So this is an ice skating romance. This one, oh, it was just so good. I don't know why I waited so long to read this book, but this one is about Jasmine and Ivan. So it's Ivan Lukov and Jasmine Santos. And Jasmine and Ivan have both been pairs skaters for years. They've had different partners, but they're both pairs skaters. So Jasmine's partner, something happened like 2 years prior to when this book takes place, and she no longer has a partner. And her best friend is Ivan's little sister. But she and Ivan don't get along. They never have gotten along. They train at the same ice rink, but they've never gotten along. They're total enemy situation. Ivan comes to her one day, or his coach and him come to her one day, call her into the office, and they're like, his partner, and he is an Olympic champion. Like, he is a champion. He's won all the medals. She hasn't won anything. Even though she's amazing, her partner is, I think it's alluded to the fact that her partner is the one that wasn't always the greatest and had pulled her down. So she actually even has like one of the skating, like, I can't remember if it's the triple sow cow, one of them that is really hard to do. She can do it very easily. One of the spins. So yeah, she's got like her signature move and everything. So they pull her into the office and he's like, my partner can't do it for the next year. At this point, she's like 26. So she's up there in age as far as ice skaters go. And he's like, I need a partner for the next year. Will you be my partner? And so she's like, figures that this is her one chance to actually make it because he's that good of a partner. That if they pair up, then at least she'll win a couple of championships. And, you know, all the money that's been put into her ice skating career will have been worth it at this point in time because her family has sacrificed. So there is a lot of, it reminded me of that movie from back in the 80s, Cutting Edge, where, you know, you just hate each other. They just go at each other all the time. But it is the epitome of slow burns. Mariana Zapata, all of her books are like this, where you don't get any romancing. We're talking not even the first kiss until the last few chapters of the book. But the book is so good that you don't even notice. Like, I was texting you while I was reading it, and I remember when they got to the first kiss, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even realize that they hadn't kissed yet. And I read the majority of the book. But it's just so good. The angst and the tension, it's all right there. That, you know, that attraction is there. You can feel it. And, you know, in the beginning, we think Ivan is quite the jerk, but by the end, you're like, I need one of those. I'll take one right now. So I really, really, really highly recommend this book. It's definitely a favorite. It's thicker. I mean, it's not bad. It's thicker, but I really loved this book.
Next book is The Summer Proposal by Vi Keeland, and I have told you to read this over and over again. Have you read it?
No, I'm a bad friend. I'm
Well, hopefully I will just blow your mind with my summary here, and you'll be like, I have to read it now. Okay, so this is about Georgia and Max, and Georgia gets set. She's dealing with some heartbreak, you know, recent breakup, and she gets set up on a blind date. So she's at the bar on her blind date, and this guy comes and sits and talks to her, and she is and likes him. Things are going well, and then it turns out he was her fake blind date. He was not actually her blind date. So when her actual blind date shows up, he leaves. And she's kind of bummed because the new guy is not up to par at all. So he gives her 2 hockey tickets and tells her to meet him at this game. And I think it's like the next night or something. So she goes to the game because she really liked him. And she's sitting, you know, in the seat, and like nobody ever comes to sit next to her. So she's like, oh, great. He stood me up. Well, just as she's thinking like she's going to leave the game, like while it's still happening, she sees one of the hockey players and he smiles at her and he has a dimple. And she's like, oh my God, that's him. My like fake blind date is actually this hockey star guy, Max. So he has actually been just signed to a new team. So at the end of summer, he's leaving and going across the country. And she's trying to get over, you know, kind of heartbreak and stuff. So he proposes the summer proposal where they're just gonna, you know, basically have a fling for the summer, be exclusive, but have this fling. And at the end of summer, it's over. And so when he goes to follow through on that, she's devastated and she doesn't understand like how they spent all this time together. Like, I mean, they spent a lot of time together and it's very obvious they both like each other. And so she doesn't understand why he wouldn't want to put some effort into it. Well, he has something going on and it's not something that I think you would think, you know, when you read books, it's not something that you would think of like, and so I don't want to give anything away, but he has reasons for why he didn't, besides moving clear across the country, he has other reasons for why he does not want to have this relationship with her. And it made me cry. And it was a phenomenal story. So excellent character development in it. Vi Keeland is one who always just sucks me right in from those first few pages. And I don't want to do anything until I finish the book. And this was definitely one of them.
Yeah. You definitely like your Vi Keeland.
I do, but you need to read this one. It's not like it's very different from most sports romances.
Okay. Fine. I'll put it on the list. I'll get to it one of these years.
My TBR is almost at 600.
My TBR is over 9. So yeah, a little bit. We're not going to talk about that on this video. Okay, so for our last one, it is called Icebreaker, and it is by Hannah Grace. This one is a ice hockey / ice skating story. So this one is a college romance, which is very interesting because I know I broke my own mold. This one's a longer one as well. But this one is about Anastasia. They call her Stassi. She is a competitive ice skater. She is at this college on full ride scholarship. She has like the planner, like her life is planned down to the second, which I get that. I understand that 100%, but everything is planned down to the second and she will not deviate from the planner, from the schedule. And then you have Nathan, and he is the captain of the hockey team for that college. So here's the deal. They have 2 ice skating rinks, and the hockey team practices at theirs, and the ice skating people, they practice at their ice skating rink. But there was a prank that happened at the beginning of the year, and at the beginning of the school year, and the hockey rink for the hockey boys gets flooded, and it can't be repaired. And so it's either for the hockey boys or one of the rinks gets flooded. So the school sits them down and says, well, because of this prank, y'all got to come and spend time at the same rink together. So you get a lot of like craziness that ensues because of that. And then you have where Hannah's partner ends up getting hurt for whatever, there's reasons, and gets hurt. And somehow that pulls Nathan into the situation. He's a part of the situation somehow. And he volunteers to be her practice partner until the partner can get back on his feet again. And so it is really fun. It was a fun read. It was a good read. There was some emotional stuff. So that was all that we have for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me and my bestie while we sit and talk about our favorite sports romances.
Yes. Make sure to tell us what your favorite is.
Definitely tell us what yours is in the comments below. And we hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you in the next video.